And now, back to the WPPM studios in Philadelphia. This is the World Sports Show.
Flowe here on WPPM LP Philadelphia. And we are live. We have on the line Coach Michele Nagamine from University of Hawaii. How you doing tonight, Coach?
Hey, aloha, guys. How are you?
Oh, good. It's warming up in the studio now that we have you on. Appreciate the warm weather.
Oh, thank you. I try to spread that aloha everywhere I go.
So what's there now? About what? Like about 82, I'm guessing? I'm just guessing.
Actually, just so you guys don't feel too bad, it is a little overcast today, so it's kind of a chilly 73.
A chilly 73. So you're wearing like a blanket.
We just turned the thermostat up to 72.
Yep, I had to put the hoodie on today at training. It was a little rainy, so what can I say? We got to suck it up here.
It's tough. Well, we'll get through this interview. But no, I want to thank you for coming on the show and thanking you for everything you do for the women's game and just what really we talked about when we met at the convention a few weeks ago is just you're not just a soccer coach, but you got a lot of logistics to manage to getting your team healthy and the recovery for every road trip. You're hopping on a plane for at least 5-6 hours.
Yeah, and that's kind of the no-brainer part of things. When someone makes a decision to attend our university, they kind of know, okay, I'm going to have to travel, so that's going to be hard. But what they don't realize is just how bad they're going to feel after they do so much traveling. You can mentally prepare for it and tell yourself that, hey, we've got to go a minimum of 2,500 miles in one direction just to play a game. But what you don't think about is how you have to eat and sleep on the road, how you have to manage all of your studying when you're just exhausted, and then, coming back and then adjusting to local time and then leaving again in usually about 9 days and doing it all over again, and then doing that 4 times a season. So that does get to be a little bit of a challenge. But, I think the kids really do. They're road warriors, so to speak. They've learned how to just, we've kind of said, hey, get a straw, suck it up. And they've done that. They don't complain. They make the best of it. And so certainly we do have a very unique set of challenges before we even start competing.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest thing is they say traveling eastbound because you're playing earlier than your body's used to. How do you approach it as a coach before a road game? Are you guys trying to hit the field a little earlier? How do you get you guys' bodies adjusted?
Well, we try to get them, for example, one of the road trips, we would fly from Honolulu to LAX, and we would land at about 11:30 at night. So by the time, and the kids are starving, so we try to do some kind of dinner to go or get something in their stomachs before they sleep. And then we try to get them an hour. We try to get them 8 hours of sleep if we can on that first night, but then we just keep them on local time. So most of the time when we go up for conference road trips, we don't even get to bed before 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning because, after you get the vans and you go and eat and you drive to the hotel and you check in and you get everybody situated. It's usually well after 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of international players say that, they'll play in one country and then they'll fly in for domestic games. I know some of the players that played in NWSL that play in England tell me the same thing. When they get called up, they just keep all their watches set to like East Coast time and they just have to make sure all the blinds are shut in their hotel and they still just follow the local time, and obviously they still have to make their trainings and practices, but I mean, that's a great way to look at it. Just keep your clocks the same.
Yep, and we have to get adjusted as soon as possible. We don't want the kids sleeping in the hotel room during the day or having too much downtime because then that just contributes to that lethargic feeling. So what we've tried to do is keep them very busy. We study probably more on the road than we do at home, as far as what we require. But we're doing multiple study halls a day. Everything is basically, eat, sleep, study, soccer, and that's it. So not a lot of social time. Usually after the game, we try to let the kids have some time with their families because that is our number one core value here, Ohana. But, it does get, even that's a challenge, to be excited and happy when you're just exhausted. But like you said, our kids do a really good job of balancing everything out.
And you look at your roster. I mean, you have a mix of locals and you have a mix of players that have come from the continental side of the U.S. How is that adjusting when you have a split roster?
It's actually really interesting. One of the things I love the most about our team is our diversity. We're just so culturally diverse that you get the best of everybody's world. You get to, especially in Hawaii, with us being a melting pot of cultures as it is, just as a destination. We have the best food from all of these different nationalities and cultures, and I think the blend between local and mainland kids has been really good for our team. The people who are from the mainland get a chance to really get immersed in the local customs because our local girls are taking them home, and they're staying at the house over the weekend or over Thanksgiving, and they get to see the local customs at the very truest level of ohana because they're going home with our kids' families. So I think we have a couple players who live on Maui, and they've had the team over there and hosted them on Maui. So it's just, you get a different experience than anywhere else you could go, and that diversity. Everybody's from a different place. Everybody has something that they share that they can bring to the table. So it makes things very interesting and sometimes very enlightening.
Yeah, and like you said, you obviously do spend a lot of time together, so it obviously creates that family atmosphere, and that's something that I think is so valuable as a coach. And we take, a couple night trips for, my college team. We rarely do overnight trips, but when we do, you just realize sometimes you play so much better because you're so tight, and we had an amazing record on the road this year because of that. I mean, it just forces you guys to love each other.
Yeah, and the cool thing is you get to see each other at your best and at your worst. Sometimes you're so tired you can't even see straight, so people get grouchy and you get a little bit snippy, but they have the ability, because they're like sisters, to just say, hey, I get it, but do you really have to be such a witch? So they'll give each other some ribbing about it. But I think a lot of teams like to say oh, we're a family, we're like sisters. Well, in my book, sisters fight like cats and dogs too, So one day you love your sister, the next day you want to strangle your sister, and the next day, if anybody else wants to strangle your sister, you want to kick their butt, and so it's just this whole mixture of emotions. And when you add in the road time and just living in hotels for a good month, of that season, you get to see the best and the worst. But the beautiful part is you learn to accept each other for your differences, and the very things that sometimes you love about somebody, it drives you crazy about somebody as well. So, I think learning how to be a good communicator and learning how to be compassionate, these are skills that are going to help our kids for the rest of their lives, not just on the soccer field.
Yeah, just remind everybody out there, you're listening to World Sports Show. We have our guests on Michele "Bud" Nagamine, head coach of University of Hawaii women's soccer team. Now, you've done some recent recruiting trips, so obviously recruiting's a little different than me and you. I can hop in my car and drive less than an hour to recruit players. I mean, you have to do a balance, I'm sure, of recruiting locals, and then also, even if you want to go to a different island, you're still hopping on a plane. So, I mean, that's a lot of hours.
Oh, yes. Just last week, for example, I was all over California and then over in Arizona and then back to California. And it was really, really, I think I put just about 1,000 miles on the rental car. And I think that means I could go 1,000 times around my island. I'm not sure even how that math works out. But, it's just, you put a local person, from Hawaii in a car, it's like, heck, when we live here, we don't even want to drive over 10 or 15 minutes. So that was a very interesting trip to log that many miles by myself and just go and see players that we needed to make decisions on. It was, that's just the nature of what we have to do because we don't get to do it every weekend.
No, it's a lot harder for you, but I mean, I'm sure things like the tools of the internet have helped me a lot as a coach. I mean, there's a lot of powerful tools that, that when you start getting interested in a player, you really got to commit to a player to actually physically go see her live. Luckily we have the luxury I can watch a few films. Then if I'm really interested, I'll actually go watch them live.
That's right, and we do the exact same things. We rely heavily on what the club coaches are saying. And what I like to do sometimes too is call the opposing coaches, and get their take on, because they're playing each other so often. And everybody knows each other, in especially like, Southern or Northern California or Arizona, the hotbeds of where we're recruiting. Players have reputations and coaches have reputations. So we like to try to do our due diligence because we are at such a disadvantage that we don't just get to drive down the street and then drive home at the end of the day. Every time we take a recruiting trip, it costs some serious money. So we have to maximize our time, and especially if you're going to a couple of the bigger tournaments or showcases, you've got all of these kids emailing you, and you have to really pick and choose and rank according to the priority of what we need to fill as far as positions goes, because we're not going to see 200 kids in a weekend. It's just impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think of that challenge. Like, I'll catch you next weekend. I'll see you at your next game. It's kind of like it's not that easy. I'll see you next time. But
right.
Just want to talk about the culture of Hawaii. I've been very fortunate to be on Oahu many a times in my life, and even travel over to Kauai, and just jumped into some pickup games, and just the work ethic of Hawaiians is through the roof, and that's the thing why you see the percentage of Hawaiians that go on to professional careers so much higher than people from the mainland. And just wanted to talk about that work ethic of how the culture has made them such a hardworking people.
Well, I think it usually stems from the parents, of course, and, not to overgeneralize, but when you live in a small town, sometimes the chip on your shoulder can be quite big because you have something to prove. And, the best thing about a lot of the Hawaiian kids that I really enjoy, and what other mainland coaches have told me they enjoy, is just that work rate that you mentioned. These are kids who are going to run through the wall for you because they're so eager to please, and they're going to be humble, and they understand that they didn't come from a big place that's necessarily a hotbed for soccer, but they're going to outwork so many people just because of their upbringing. And, we have a heavy Asian influence here in the islands as well, which means, we take a lot of the Asian characteristics of humility and industriousness and, that kind of thing. And so it's like a melting pot. So you get all these different influences from all these different cultures, because people will have maybe, 7 or 8 nationalities, and so we call them poi dogs. We're all mixed up, myself included. So, when you have all these different influences in your life and from all these different cultures that are a part of who you are, then you try to take the best from every culture that you have. And you find that the kids are just so eager to please, but they're also going to be the ones to thank you after the training session, want to help pick up all the equipment, put the goals away, and, shag all the balls. So that I think is something really special, and I'm extremely grateful to have that as a part of my lifestyle every day.
Wow, I definitely need some more Hawaiian kids, because that's one thing I really try to teach my kids about the whole cleaning up. Because it's funny as a coach, people ask me, "Oh, what time are you done coaching?" "Oh, I'm done at 9." Really, you're not done till about 9:30 by the time you pick everything up. So
that's right, that's right. And here in Hawaii, they train them up pretty well. So that would be my definite advice to coaches. You want your practice to end earlier and you go home faster, get some Hawaiians on your team. They're the ones that are going to take care of everything. And, we pride ourselves on living with aloha. Now, this, of course, is not everyone, and I don't mean to overgeneralize or stereotype anybody, but, what you'll find is a lot of the people that you're meeting from Hawaii, we strive to live with aloha. We want to leave things better than we found them, and we want to do all we can to try to make things better. So, and if we can have a little fun doing that as well, then more power to us, right?
Yeah, no, I've had nothing but positive experiences, and I guess it was very lucky that I knew some locals before I got there, so wasn't more
even better.
Yeah, nor the tourists, but I think the things that got me is we talk a lot about food on World Sports Show, so we're obviously got a Hawaiian on the phone. We're going to talk a little bit of food, but like just the plate meals. That's the part that shocked me most. Just going to the little places and getting little side plates and all different types of food. What's your go-to dish to eat there?
Oh man, you know what? I have so many, but I would say spicy ahi. Or spicy tuna on the crispy rice is probably one of my all-time favorites. There's a restaurant here called Shokuro that I just love, and they make the most amazing tofu salad. So I could eat there every day of the week. But the plate lunches are pretty killer too. You know, getting like a hamburger steak with gravy all over. You know, add a couple of scrambled eggs on top of that. Oh, I mean, you want to sleep for the rest of the day. But that's some good stuff. And we've got, I mean, I love seafood and I love meat. So I'm just in hog heaven here. You know, just I could go on and on about the food.
No, that's the thing that really, you know, opened my eyes when I went there is all the different varieties of food. And you have to really look it back at that it's such a melting pot that every different culture and generation has come here has brought a little something to contribute. And that's why you go to these little fast food joints, you know, at like 2 a.m. after you've been out with your friends and you realize you can get anything you possibly could think of.
Yeah. You know, one of my favorite stories was I had a bunch of blonde-haired, blue-eyed girls from Southern California on my team one year, and I went to my favorite poke place out on the west side, and it's quite a drive. So I went out there to get some fish, and I was getting their spicy ahi on the sushi rice and a piece of fried chicken. And as I'm walking in, my team is walking out, and they've got all these bags, and it's all my mainland kids. And they're like, look, Coach Bud, we came all the way to Tony, guys. And they were so, and they have like pounds of raw fish. So I was like, oh, I'm so proud right now. So, you know, these kids just grew up in California, but they really embraced the local style, and they knew exactly where to get the best stuff. And went there, you know, on a Saturday afternoon where they were heading to the North Shore. So I'm like, how cool is that?
Oh, that's amazing, and it also got me thinking that you obviously wear more than just a hat of a coach there. That you kind of probably serve as their kind of their mother while you're there, and you serve as their psychiatrist because there's probably so many players that almost have the mental breakdowns of missing home, and then like you were talking about the recent whole nuclear missile scare that suddenly you have to be a psychiatrist and help guide these young women through life decisions.
You know, it is a job that is not very easy, but it's definitely, why we do this, to try to make positive impacts in these young women's lives. And I think the days of us just being able to do the X's and O's and just coach soccer, they're long gone. Parents are savvy, kids are informed, and they want to go places where people get them. And parents need to know that if I'm going to send my kid 2,500 miles away, well, somebody better be watching her. They don't want her wearing her bikini, playing an ukulele under the coconut tree every day. She's got to get her degree, and she's got to make sure that she's doing well in the classroom and on the soccer field. So, yeah, we've got a lot of eyes on our kids. There's a lot of distractions here, and we make sure we tell them through the recruiting process that if you want to go someplace where you're going to sit in your bikini and play the ukulele all day under the tree, don't come here, because that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot of closeness, across sports. Well, you now newly you have men's volleyball, and then you got football, and you got all the other different sports. Like, how tight-knit are all the, teams of bonding together?
Oh, our teams are very close. We have a bridge program in the summer for our athletes where they come in and they're going to summer school, and it's all the athletes. So football, baseball, basketball, both on the men's and women's side. We're all here for the bridge program, which gives the kids a little bit of a leg up because they get to go to summer school and get a class or two out of the way. And, it's a wonderful way to bring the athletes together, and they have a core of friends before school even starts. So what we found is when the athletes who are going through the bridge program, which is optional on their part, they can determine, how they start the school year. And instead of being homesick the week that the season is starting, they can go through their homesickness with 150 other kids, who are all doing the same thing as they are. So we've got a really close relationship with lots of the different sports on campus because our campus is very intimate. All of the sports are located on lower campus, and all the academics are located on upper campus. So the opportunity for interaction and going to each other's sporting events is very, very great.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Now, what do you guys, some of the community work you do? Because, you are the big university on the island. I'm sure that there's, the locals, like, this is the biggest soccer game on the island.
Right, and we take that very, very seriously. As a matter of fact, our women's soccer team has led our athletic department in community service hours logged for many of the last 7 years that we've been here. So we try to do an average of 4 to 6 events per year, and we do everything from Special Olympic soccer tournaments to doing a reach clinic for trying to get middle schoolers interested in going to college, and our entire team participates. We read to second graders on Dr. Seuss's birthday. We've done fitness days for an entire elementary school every year. So it's just making the public aware that we appreciate their support. As a state institution, we wouldn't exist without the tax dollars of our community, and we make sure that every single girl, whether she's local or from the mainland, understands that. And, with us getting about 1,300 people at our games, they spend 20 minutes after every game signing autographs.
Wow.
So, it means something to them to be an athlete at the University of Hawaii. And when you watch our senior night presentations on YouTube, you're going to see mainland kids, local kids with lei just piled up to their head, the tops of their heads. And, they don't have 1,000 family members here, but they've got 100 lei on and all these people lined up to hug them after the game. So it's really an experience that cannot be duplicated.
Just remind everybody out there, you're listening to World Sports Show. We have on the line Michele Nagamine, the head coach at University of Hawaii. We also have to bring up a little bit of the Philly connection. I think the whole city of Philadelphia owes you a thank you. You were here a couple weeks before the Super Bowl, and you did go to the Super Bowl live, and the Eagles won, so you got to witness Philadelphia sports history.
That's right. I had my Eagles shirt. I was representing, and I do have to give a shout out to the fans because the environment at Super Bowl was awesome because of what you guys brought. I mean, the love you have for your team, it was absolutely inspiring. It was amazing. For someone who's grown up in a place with no professional sports, and to see a guy like Zach Ertz, I mean, Julie Ertz being a Santa Clara girl, I've been a huge fan of hers from day one. And to see, just the excitement and the emotion. And, we've got a local boy on the Eagles as well. So it was just such an amazing experience.
Yeah, he actually...
Even for $15 beers.
Yeah, he's $15. Actually, that's not bad. For Super Bowl price, $15 beer. I was expecting about in maybe triple figures. But, yeah, that player did some kicking for the Eagles this year, subbed in and did some special teams kicking. I remember when our kicker went down.
Yeah. And you know what? It was so cool that there were no lines for the women's bathroom at Super Bowl. That was my favorite. Everybody's like, what was your favorite thing about the Super Bowl? I'm like, no lines for the women's restroom. The guys got payback for once.
So what did you do with that ticket stub? Have you got it framed on your wall?
It's going to go in a frame. I'm going to say that this is probably my one and done on Super Bowls because I had a good buddy that gave me a ticket, and I don't think I can afford to go on my own.
That is a gift. I mean, that is the gift of all gifts, and wow. And it's just, I'm sure it was very cold for you, so anything probably around 30 is probably negative 50 for us, right?
Oh, you know what? It was, when I saw negative 15, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. But I just had to try running down the street. I lasted for like 2 minutes, and then my hair froze, and then I was like, I'm out of here. No more being macho. I'm going to take an Uber 2 blocks.
Well, no, I want to thank you for calling the show, and I want to thank you for coming out to the convention and just talking to me for a few minutes about your program and your guys' goal, and wish you guys nothing but luck. If I ever find myself coaching a D1's women's team, I will definitely find a way to schedule you guys.
Oh,
in Hawaii, though.
Yeah, in Hawaii to make it worth your while. And I'm calling you every time I come back to Philly, my brother.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much for being on the show, bud.
All right, thanks, Charlie. You have a great evening.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
This is World Sports Show. You're listening to that interview with Bud Nagamine, head coach of University of Hawaii women's soccer team. So I really think we need to plan a remote That would be a remote interview in person. I think the whole crew needs to go. Yeah,
I think we should.
I've been there, John. You've been to Hawaii. Have you been? You've never been to Hawaii, have you,
I've
Kevin?
never been, so I think that could be the number one reason why we need to go.
Your eyes lit up for the food. I'm telling you, the
food,
diversity of the food and the beautiful green grass. We can go throw the American football, the soccer ball around. It's just throw a frisbee around. It doesn't even matter what we throw or kick.
As long as I'm in paradise, I'll be fine.
I'll go sit this one out.
Yeah.
No, and I think that's the part that I really loved about the diversity, that I joined some group chat before I went out there my first time and connected with some guys and just played some pickup soccer there. You know, that was like one of the coolest things, just walking this park and, hey, are you so-and-so? Yeah, I'm the one that emailed you. All right, jump on in. Just played some pickup soccer right below Diamond Head. And, you know, what years were you there, John?
Man, it's going back. It's been at least, I want to say, 10 years.
But it all looks the same. That's the neat thing. That's the
same.
thing. There's pictures of my mother walking down a beach. My mother lived in Hawaii for a while, and there's a photo of her walking down a beach near Bellows Air Force Base. I went to the same beach, and it looks exactly. I snapped some photos, and like you can put the photos side by side, and that's the cool thing about Hawaii, is keeping things the way they are and just their work ethic, you know. And hey, man, I got to go get myself some Hawaiian coaches. I got to justify with Jefferson University to fly me out to Hawaii to recruit some players.
I think that only makes sense.
And I might need a couple assistants. I'm just saying.
That also only makes sense to me.
So, remind everybody you are listening to World Sports Show on WPPN LP Philadelphia. He is Kevin Hines. He is John DiCriscio. I am Charlie Flowe. Any final thoughts there, John?
No final thoughts.
So we're
I
gonna
don't have final thoughts.
final thoughts as the show has come to an end. Want to thank everybody for making the show possible. Thank our guest Michele Nagamine for calling in to a World Sports Show. Check her program out whenever you get a chance. We'll be back next week, same time. Peace out.
Thank you for watching a World Sports Show production. For more info, go to worldsportsshow.com.